Hello. I'm here today to kind of talk about some Elden Ring lore that I think needs to be talked about that I haven't seen anybody else talk about. So that's the main purpose of this video, to kind of go over some stuff that I think needs to be talked about. Uh, Elden Ring lore wise, of course. Uh, a lot of it is going to be conjecture. Some of it I think is actually pretty strong, as in I'm thinking it's most likely what happened. Uh, but like I said, a lot of it's going to be obviously conjecture. This is a From Software game we're talking about. No, there's no hard science here. So keep that in mind. Let's just jump in. So my first point, and I think probably the strongest point I have, is Marika the Saint. So as we know, as you've probably seen in others' lore videos like Zafe the Scholar or Vadividya, uh, the shaman people were taken, abducted, and shoved into jars. I do not believe Marika escaped this. I think Marika, like her shaman sisters, was shoved into a jar. Now, the difference is that I think Marika came out the other side, whereas her sisters turned into, what they are in the game, the walking tumor people. Uh, Whereas I think Marika was successfully turned into a saint. Now, as we know, and as you've probably seen in other lore videos, the main purpose of shoving the shamans into the jars was to create a saint. Now, what a saint is kind of up in the air, but I think it is what Marika turned out to be. They were trying to create a being capable of becoming a god, which Marika ultimately did. And I think that really is what a saint is in that terminology. Now you can see in other games, and even in I'm pretty sure even in Elden Ring itself, there's other people who are referred to as saints that may not quite fall under that category. But I think in this context, that is what the word or the title saint means. So I think essentially Marika got shoved into the jar, got melded together with a bunch of other flesh, and instead of turning into, grotesque tumor person, she came out the other side as the Marika we know today, Marika herself. And that's gonna be. I'm gonna come back to that later, but that's kind of like the biggest thing that I think probably is actually the truth. I think that happened, and that's probably one of the other reasons it probably leads into the seduction and betrayal of the horn scent, because after she came out of the jar, she was probably like, hell yeah, I will be your guys' god, do what you guys want. And then when she got got up to bat, that isn't what happened. uh, so the next topic is Radagon. Radagon, I think, is probably the most mysterious character in Elden Ring, a mysterious main character, just because of one thing, and whether he was an individual prior to uh, being possibly subsumed by Marika, which is what I'm going to lead into here. Is I think personally, I think Radagon was his own separate person prior, probably during the Age of the Horn Scent, uh, and at some point, and I think it was most likely during the war with the Fire Giants, either immediately after or immediately before, was subsumed by Marika. We know that Marika, as a shaman, has flesh that is capable of melding with other living flesh harmoniously. I think she did that with Radagon, except Radagon kept his consciousness, essentially. And now, quintessentially, they were living as two consciousnesses in one body, which we do know is what, at least the two consciousnesses in one body is definitely true. Whether that consciousness was created by Marika or existed pre-Marika is really where the contention lies, and I think I think Radagon was his own person. Now, who was Radagon? That is a deep question, because there was no real evidence of who Radagon may have been before being subsumed by Marika, what title he may have had, or what even kind of person he was. However, this is going to lead into kind of my biggest conjecture of this video. Uh, R'hllana and Radagon. I think that R'hllana and Radagon prior to being subsumed by America and essentially becoming America, banged R'hllana. I think he got freaky with R'hllana. Uh, I think this for a couple of reasons. One of the really big reasons is just the similarities between Radagon and Mesmer, particularly. Like, Mesmer's red hair just screams Radagon. They're practically shoving it in our face because all of Radagon's other children also bear the red hair, and I just can't really think of anybody else that America would have got freaky with. Now, this could have been that these children were America's. Excuse my artistic inabilities, but I'm not here to provide production value. Just an Elden Ring theory. Anywho, I think it is possible that Radagon, these children, Melina and Mesmer, were just Radagon America's children prior to Radagon being subsumed by America. But I think there's even more evidence that these are Radagon and R'hllana's children. Well, and I think this for a couple reasons. First of all, is we know with R'hllana, Radagon got a thing for the Carians, man. He really did. He ended up popping out 3 really powerful babies with R'hllana, who we know is R'hllana's older sister. Now, I think that Radagon was a shifty boy and got freaky with R'hllana prior to America and prior to the Golden Order and possibly during the time of the Horn Scent, and R'hllana popped out both Melina and Mesmer. And I think another piece of evidence that suggests this is that R'hllana really loves Mesmer, and while we can just take it at face value that that she just wanted his flaming snake, I think there's nothing that really alludes to that. In fact, it kind of alludes to the fact that R'hllana's remaining close to Mesmer, but is also still distant from Mesmer. And I think what could explain this is that America lied to Mesmer and probably Melina that she was their biological mother, and that Mesmer definitely thinks this. As we know, during the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, his whole kind of plot arc there is that he's waiting for America to come, pull him out of the Shadowland after she ordered him to stay there and murder the Horn Scent. R'hllana, as we know, followed him into the Shadowlands. And I think she would want to kind of remain distant as to not shatter his illusion or his delusion that America is his real mommy. Because, R'hllana is his actual mommy and just doesn't want her son to suffer that. Or there could have been some sort of coercion on America's part to make sure that R'hllana never, let Mesmer know that she was his actual mother. And that it kind of makes sense, right? And that's why she would have followed him. That's my kid. I'm going to follow my kid anywhere and kind of do whatever he does. Fuck the Carians. And I think that's what she did, whether it was a romantic relationship or not. It could have been a little bit of Oedipus stuff going on there. It is fucking Miyazaki and George R.R. Martin. He would cry over that, like mother son stuff. Oh yeah, that's George R.R. Martin all the way. And I think that it's a pretty solid theory. I've not seen anybody talk about it. And like I said, I think there's a fair amount there to kind of go on, because that we currently the current kind of opinion is that it was probably, from what I've seen anyways, it was probably America and Radagon. These were probably America and Radagon's previous children. And like I said, that could very well be the case, that America pre-subsuming Radagon ended up with Mesmer and Melina. But the real problem with either of these is that where the hell was Radagon during any of the events that happened with the Horn Sense? Because there's a lot connecting, like just on surface level. There's a lot connecting, uh, particularly Radagon and Mesmer, just visually. And usually in From Software games, that stuff is very important. So it's odd that they would go out of their way to make that connection if there was no actual connection. So I'm pretty sure Radagon fits into the situation regardless. It's just where and how. There was no mention of Radagon almost anywhere inside of the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, and that's kind of weird considering, like I said, it's pretty certain. At least I'm personally pretty certain he was definitely involved, uh, and is most likely the father of both Melina and Mesmer. And it would also make sense because Melina ostensibly is the Gloam-eyed Queen. Now, if I don't think America's own daughter would betray her in such a way and become, because it's been made clear that Melina and the Gloma are not. I keep confusing those names. There's a lot of confusing names, but America and Melina, the Gloam-eyed Queen, were in conflict with each other because they were both Empyreans. They could both ascend to the Divine Gate, and as we kind of know in the Elden Ring main story, Malekith, or America, sent Malekith to defeat the Gloam-eyed Queen, which he did, and he got the Rune of Death from her. And there's another kind of plot hole, or like shadowy area, is that how the hell did Melina end up with the Rune of Death prior to Marika even having the Elden Ring? She didn't even, or becoming the Elden Ring, more or less. So I'm not quite 100% certain as to that, or what. There's a big question mark there. I think Mesmer. That's a terrible question mark. I think Mesmer is the much more easy one to kind of go off of, just because you actually kind of like see more of him. Because there's a question to as if Melina even looks the same as she did back then in her spirit form. Here's another little tidbit that is kind of interesting. I think most likely Mesmer burnt Melina, because as we know in the base game of Elden Ring, Melina is bodiless. Her body was burnt. She says so herself, that her body was burnt, and she's a demigod, or presumably a demigod. And it would take a lot to burn her body to a crisp. But as we know, Mesmer's fire would be more than capable. And she even alludes to the fact that she's kind of like covered in ash or whatever. To be fair, she doesn't look like the other spirits that were burnt like by the Mesmer fire, because the other spirits are all blackened by it, being burnt by it. Because while Mesmer's fire is not quite as as powerful as the yellow flame of the Three Fingers, it is still definitely powerful enough to both burn the Erdtree and the flesh of a demigod, rendering them bodiless. And that is why Melina, to add to this day, is bodiless, because for some reason or another, either on the orders of Marika or on his own volition, I believe Mesmer burnt Melina's body in an attempt to probably kill her. And it could have been because as we know, Mesmer's a mommy's boy, maybe to the wrong mommy of Marika, and even though Marika may have taken pity on Melina, or the Gloam-eyed Queen. God damn, I don't know what I'm even writing this. uh, Mesmer may have not been as merciful. He may have been spiteful. Because Malekith, I don't think killed Glowmite Queen. I think he defeated her, took the blade, or took the Rune of Death, and left her alive. And then Mesmer, at some later point, may have just uh, seen his sister as a traitor for, being the Glowmite Queen and being in competition with Marika. So he took it upon himself, probably during the Crusades against the Hornsent, or right before the veil got put over the Shadowlands. He burnt her to a crisp, rendering her bodiless, because Mesmer's flame is powerful enough to do that. And out of the flames, there's only like two other regular fire. Just from what we know, would not be capable of doing something like that to a demigod. It could hurt them, but it wouldn't render them like incorporeal. But Mesmer's flame is clearly, it's actually very like emphasized that his flame can do that. So that would make sense in that aspect. So the main thing here, and the main point of the thing I want to talk about, is just R'hllana, or I guess I want you guys to think about, is R'hllana and Radagon. Because there's just a lot that makes sense there. Because R'hllana, Carrion, starters, like I said, Radagon, our boy Radagon, kind of horny for Carrions. He got with R'hllana awfully quickly, and it could be because she reminded him of his previous lover, R'hllana, because they're kind of twin sisters almost. And also Mesmer's red hair, and Marika's complete. Here's another point that I didn't bring up previously, is Marika's complete and utter disregard for Mesmer. Like, while Mesmer loves Marika, Marika most certainly does not love Mesmer. And that could be because of the red hair, and I would almost guess certainly because of the red hair, and stuff like that. And I would also say it's because of Mesmer's fire, because Mesmer's fire is capable of burning the Erd Tree, and that's why she left dual ulterior motive for leaving him trapped in the Shadow Realm. The other motive, obviously, to torture the people and kill the people that shoved her into a jar. Which, going back, like I said, I do believe that out of anything in this video is probably the soundest thing, is that Marika was a perfected saint. Marika did get shoved in a jar, came out the other side, became a saint, and then after a while, and that betrayed the Hortensens. Now, another thing is, when did the war with the fire giants happen? Did it happen before Marika ascended to godhood, or did it happen after Marika ascended to godhood? I'm actually kind of split on that. I am not sure. That's going to be something. That's a good topic of discussion. The timelines in these things are always kind of convoluted, so it's likely we'll never know for sure. But I do think there's a possibility you could maybe generalize with some decent evidence, because there's enough there. Anywho, this is kind of what I want to leave you guys to think about, and sorry for any quality issues. Like, I'm not a professional YouTuber, man. I just wanted to just bring up this theory, because, like I said, I've never seen it before, and I would like to kind of just be out there for the community to speculate over. I think it's a really fun one, and while it may not be true, and this is the case with a lot of lore in these kind of games, is that it's still fun. It's still fun to talk about. It's still fun to think about. Anywho, hope you guys have a nice day. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.